Let me first start by talking about a key concept in what we are doing as an organization, and that is the fight against impunity. And I think many people of us, of course, if you would get the question, why are you trying to get war criminals punished or make them face consequences, they will refer to justice. And I think this is normal. Of course, justice is very important. But justice in general tends to be a very abstract concept if it's not applied in concrete measures. That's why we have laws, and that's why we have punishment that is part of the law. You cannot have law without law enforcement. Imagine you have law, but you don't have anybody to apply the law or to force you to respect the law. Let's just take something simple like a red light and a traffic. Of course, some people will still, if there's nobody to apply the law, some people will still stop out of civic virtue. But maybe the percentage of these people will not be very high. Maybe I am pessimistic as to human nature, but I think no, I think I'm realistic. I think, we have all tendency to think, oh yeah, it's not a problem, I'll just do it one time. Now, when we're talking about war crimes or crimes against humanity, and among crimes against humanity, you have genocide, which is the crime of all crimes, then we are talking about the kind of infractions that can destroy humanity as such. That's why they are called crimes against humanity, because these crimes are not directed only against an individual, even when they are, and they are not directed only against the people, even when they are, or the intent is to destroy one people. De facto, they destroy humanity when they are committed. So this is why, even if we can have sometimes some tolerance to minor infractions done by individuals, as humanity, we can never tolerate crimes against humanity. We can never have a nuanced position when it comes to crimes against humanity. Actually, a nuanced position towards crimes against humanity is a very extreme position. So impunity on that level, of course, impunity is enraging at any level. Imagine everyone has to stop in front of a red light, but a group of people in the city of Firenze are allowed to go through it. Imagine. People will be very angry, right? So impunity is very enraging, is revolting. And that's on the minor of infractions. So imagine a group or a state, in this case, has immunity when it comes to crimes against humanity. This should be revolting for everyone. And let me clarify that immunity is a practical thing. It's not a de jure thing, because nobody has immunity. Law in its letter is perfect. Okay, nothing is perfect, but let's say it's quite good. If you look at international law on paper, it's very good. If you look at international law in application, it's not that bad. If you look at the ICC that issued arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, it's quite good, actually. But in practice, what did it mean in practice? And this is where immunity lies. So our foundation is called the Hind Rajab Foundation, and there's a reason why it's called like that. It is not just about symbolism. It's not just about appealing to the emotions of people, because, of course, we are all very hurt and heartbroken when children are targeted. But this is not why we have chosen that name. We have chosen that name because the way Hind Rajab was killed is an extreme and very clear reflection of impunity. And I will explain how. As you remember, surely, when Hind Rajab was stuck in the car among the dead bodies of her family and loved ones, she managed to have a call with the Red Crescent dispatchers. And that call was recorded, of course, and was put online at the same moment almost. And Hind was still alive when that call went viral, when everybody, I remember myself listening to that call, maybe, and everybody was saying that girl is still in the car, stuck, and we're trying to save her. And to tell you honestly, I believed personally, even though I'm somebody who is aware since my childhood, aware of the brutality of the Israeli occupation, because I lived under Israeli occupation. But I believed really that this child will be saved, because I could not imagine that now that everybody knows about it, that even the Israeli army will kill that child. So now let's look at what happened. What happened, of course, the tragedy and abhorrent crime that took place is that, first of all, Hind was murdered. More than 300 bullets were shot at that car to kill Hind. Second of all, the medical personnel that was sent to save Hind was murdered in their ambulance. So let's analyze this, knowing that whoever has taken these decisions knew that the whole world was watching and still did this. Well, this is impunity. Actually, the message that was sent to the whole world by doing this was, look, we know you are looking, we know you are seeing us, and we don't care. You can do nothing about it. So we thought, well, you know what? We should do something about it. This could not be the end of this story. And this is why we call this foundation the Hind Rajab Foundation. So, as normal citizens, and I must say this, it was shocking for us that we felt that us, normal citizens, I was, a teacher and a writer, and my colleagues, Mr. Hassoun, who's our operational director, was also a teacher and a local politician, and so we had our normal lives, right? We were investigators to go and play the role that normally should be played by the state or by law enforcement. So it's a sad thing to realize as citizens that you need to go and analyze war crimes and find evidence and prove that war criminals are responsible for these crimes and take that to court and move prosecutors. Because normally, these things should happen on the initiative of the prosecutors themselves. And to give a bit more context of what we went and what we were the strategy that we used, we realized quite fast, especially after the arrest warrants that were issued by the ICC, that somehow the big leaders, Netanyahu, Gallant, Katz, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and all these people, they are very protected, but also that some of them really like when you attack them in justice. I'm not saying you shouldn't attack them in justice, but they like it a bit because they are politicians, so they can sell themselves as martyrs to their supporter base. And look, I'm targeted, so I'm the hero of the nation. But then we looked at who is committing the genocide and who is posting the videos and the pictures of these crimes online. These are normal soldiers, and these are officers. And we understood, well, they don't have the same kind of immunity that politicians do. Second, we don't think they would like to be targeted in justice, to be, investigated or to be taken to courts. And very early on, when we started filing cases against these rank-and-file soldiers and officers, of course, based on real proofs and serious evidentiary work, we immediately noticed a very aggressive pushback from the Israeli state, immediately. They started putting pressure, they started trying to move police forces in our country, in Belgium, against us. I had Europol on my door knocking in the morning to try to intimidate me. So we realized, okay, they do not like this. So maybe we are on the right track. So I will end maybe with an optimistic note. When we started doing this, we thought that we are only doing this to expose the hypocrisy and the double standards. So we were rather pessimistic. But very soon after, things started happening. In Cyprus, Israel had to smuggle one war criminal out, really smuggling. In Brazil, a judge issued an arrest warrant against an Israeli soldier after one of our cases. The Israelis tried to push back in Brazil. After a while, 3 more arrest warrants were issued in Brazil after our cases. In Peru, 2 criminal investigations were opened for genocide against 2 Israeli soldiers after cases of the Hind Rajab Foundation. And finally, well, not finally, I can go on, many other small movements forward. But in Belgium, for the first time in the history of this conflict, 2 Israeli soldiers were arrested and put in handcuffs and taken to investigation for crimes committed against Palestinians after a complaint by the Hind Rajab Foundation. If you would have told me 2 years ago that this would happen, I would have told you, no, impossible. So you see, the positive note I want to end with is, the road is still long. We do not have justice. But these small steps are the beginning of accountability. And accountability is a crack in the wall of impunity. The wall is still standing. Israel still has impunity. Oh, but the wall is cracking. And it's cracking because of you. It's cracking because people are mobilizing in the streets, because people are blocking ports, because people are striking, are talking, are organizing. If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for the people doing all kind of different mobilization, the cases of the Hind Rajab Foundation will be just thrown in the garbage immediately. But because there is this popular mobilization, prosecutors are finding it more and more difficult not to look at files, especially that the files also are well done. And this is hopeful. I think impunity does not have a future as long as the people is aware and becoming even more aware and more in solidarity with each other. Thank you.